Hello, my friend. Happy Tuesday, last Tuesday of the month. Listen, we're in a leap year. We got another day this month. So you get an extra day in February. Even though it's zipped by, you still get an extra day. So happy leap year. Happy last Tuesday. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you had a great weekend. You got some rest and relaxation. We are here with another session tonight. You're actually in for a treat. I'm going to share with you tonight a conversation that I had with my client, Gloria. And I wanted to share this because sometimes, you know how you can hear stuff from other people and it lands, it resonates better than hearing it from somebody else. And you're like, when you're talking to your kid or your niece or your nephew or your spouse, and you're like, I said that. So I wanted to share with you, and another reason why I want to share with you this conversation that we had is because sometimes we feel as if we're in a bubble, like things are only happening just to me. And I want to share how career challenges and the way we overcome certain career obstacles, it affects us all. Right? And we just handle things differently. And so I'm hoping that you get some inspiration, some motivation, and some empowering and encouraging words from the guest tonight. So I want you to do yourself a favor. Give yourself the gift of engagement. Look for your key tonight. Sometimes we listen to videos, watching YouTube or watch somebody, and we just scan through and we just say, oh yeah, I know that. Oh, I already knew that. Because we've been around for a long time, and a lot of us, we think we know everything. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. But I think if you give yourself the gift to focus in, listen to the dialogue, and find your key. Like, oh, that was for me, or that really resonates with me, or you know what, I understand what they're saying there. Let me know in the comments what resonates with you. Any aha moments or any takeaways. I would love to share and have a conversation in the comments. So I'm going to be quiet now. Take a listen. Give yourself the gift of engagement. And focus in, put the phone on D&D. And I want you to listen to the end because there's some, well, I'll let you listen, and then I'll come back in the end and I'll wrap up for us, okay? Or tell the folks watching a little bit about where you were before you reached out to me. What were you feeling? What was happening in your career? And yeah, what was going on during that time?
So the couple dynamics that play into that response. I had moved to Georgia in 2019, so reestablishing myself, pivoting to this new environment, and was able to connect with a consulting company in the first year that I was here, and worked for a large organization where I was lending my expertise in the learning and development space. And then the pandemic hit. So I came here in 2019. And then, of course, the pandemic hit in 2020. All of the consultants were laid off. And so I was able to pivot through my LLC in 2020 to get me through that year, because it was a full year before I was able to pick up again and work for 2 years and was laid off. So I was able to support them for 2 years before being laid off. And there were actually 3 rounds of layoffs that occurred. And that was in March of 2022. No, 23. That was 23. And then was able to go back to my consulting company, right? Things just worked out really nicely for me. I was probably laid off for a month before I was able to rejoin my consulting company and support the client that I had supported back in 2019. But that particular project was only for 6 months. And so that 6-month period came, I was rolled off that particular project. And so I found myself being out of work at that stage. And so I didn't think it was going to be a huge deal, but recognizing that this is September, October of 2023. We're moving now into fourth quarter. Most organizations don't do a lot of hiring in that fourth quarter unless they really, really want someone. And so I had resigned in my mind that, I'm going to be okay. But in the meantime, I was still, reaching out to organizations, reaching out to my network, applying to positions and not getting any traction. And I
Mhm.
was getting a little concerned about that because, I've got great experience. I know a lot of great people, and nothing was sticking.
Mhm.
And so you have great social media presence, Kelly. And so I saw, the opportunity to connect with you based on the services that you provide. And we talked early on,
Mhm.
and I thought about it, was like, I'm not sure if I want to, do that. And something
Mhm.
that you said stuck with me. And it was like, you've got to be able to invest in yourself. And so as more time went by, and I'm still not getting the traction that I think that I should get, I revisited the conversation that we had and reconnected with you. And we talked about, how you can support me, the services that you offer. And in that conversation, the one thing that struck me was like, you know what, once we sit down and we start, looking at this, I really feel confident that you're going to be back in the market by mid-February. And I was like,
Mhm.
and this
Mhm.
point was probably, I want to say maybe the end of December timeframe,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
we reconnected. And so that's kind of like where, my journey started with you
Okay.
and where I was sitting. And I will say, again, being a little bit concerned about, age discrimination always plays a role in my mind because a lot of my friends are winding down their careers. And I think
Mhm.
I still have a lot to offer and still have a lot to give. I want to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And so, felt like I could still forge ahead.
Yeah. 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 Thanks for sharing that. There's a lot there to unpack. Um, I think it's important to revisit what you said. One about you have the skills, the experience, and the knowledge, and you had the traction of having a job and then having your LLC so you can do the consultancy and then go back. So things were flowing and kind of working. And then when you hit that inflection point, I'll say, or that period where you're like, okay, what's going on? And it seems as if it kind of hit you and you're like, oh, I'm getting a little concerned here because I speak to a lot of professionals where I don't want to say they wait until that moment, but because of the traction they've had throughout their career, just thinking, because I felt the same way. I've had traction. I never had to look for a job. And I know I have the background and experience, and things are a little different now. Just read an article, somebody was saying, I've never seen it like this before. So
Mhm,
kudos to you because there are people that will wait until it's desperation mode, desperation time. And so it had already entered your mind. It sounds like, you know what, let me just see it. Already spoken to someone, let me revisit this conversation. That's one thing I wanted to unpack what you said. The second thing is the investment because I that's where a lot of people get hung up. And I get it. I understand. This is new. This is not something that has been available to us throughout our career where we get with someone, trust someone, not sure what the other side is going to look like, and continue to forge ahead. But again, kudos to you in saying, you know what, I have to do something. And this is someone that, I'm not even sure, I don't really know, but I'm going to take that chance. And I find that a lot of professionals are in that space where they know that something isn't happening for them right now,
mhm.
but I really don't know if this is gonna work. That skepticism, right? And
Exactly. 'Cause you don't know. Like you said, I've never had to use your type of service in the past because I've
mhm,
always been able to find my next opportunity. I've been always able to pivot into that
yeah,
next thing.
right.
But it was concerning. It was definitely something in the back of my mind. And to your point, I didn't want to wait till I was desperate, right?
Mhm,
Um, you
mhm,
know, I had been, doing I thought I had been doing all those things right.
mhm,
And even I thought my resume, was a pretty solid resume, right? It spoke to all the things that I was able to accomplish over the time period. It was
mhm,
lengthy, but you know, I felt like it was a strong resume. And then, just to seeing, the transformation of that document,
mhm.
was like, wow, this really pops, really made the difference, I thought, for me as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's a good segue into the documentation, which is one of the first things that we did once we decided to partner together is to revise and optimize, modernize, and update the documents. And so that was your LinkedIn, your resume, cover letter. Can you speak a little bit about, I know you touched on it, the
Mhm.
resume, just seeing that, because I remember the email I received from you once we sent it out when it was finished.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a phenomenal, transformation of the look and feel of the resume itself. It was inviting, right?
Mhm,
I would
mhm,
stop and look at that resume if it came across my desk because of the way that it was formatted. I had a 3-page resume, um,
mhm,
and we had to get that down to 2, right? So, and I had to
mhm.
let go of some
Mm,
work that I was extremely proud of, and that really got me started into the learning and development space to begin with. I had to let that go, and that was hard to do. Um,
mhm,
but with your support, your team was able to transform that document so that the skills were still there, right?
mhm,
Didn't
mhm,
speak necessarily to the organization that I worked for so long, but the skills were still highlighted, and that I thought was really important. And the LinkedIn profile, that transformation was amazing as well, and it popped immediately. So being able
mhm,
to take it, just those 2 documents in and of themselves, was amazing, and to see the traction that we got almost immediately after making those changes. And then the
mhm.
third document that you were able to support me on was the cover letter. I dread those. If you ask me for a cover letter, I am like, "Ugh."
Oh my goodness.
But when you provided that document, I was like, "Oh my god, this is really nice. This is great. Proud of this. I can't wait to use this," you know?
Yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure, for sure. I love it.
yeah.
Love it, love it. And even in inside of all of the experience and the knowledge and skills and talent that you have, there were some hidden gems for you specifically because of who you worked for and the I'll say they're what they're known for. And
Mhm.
so really extrapolating all of that experience, and what tends to happen in my experience, what I've learned from professionals is that because of them being in the day-to-day functions and tasks, not recognizing and realizing you did this for this person or you did this for this organization. Let's leverage that. And so I
Right,
speak a lot about leveraging your experience and skills and knowledge, not just your title, but going deeper than that. No, you did this for this company who's renowned and known for X, Y, and Z,
right.
you know? And I think we talked about that and how, and you're like, well, okay, well, I just did it. You
I
just like,
just
well,
did
that's
this.
just what I do.
Was this part of what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
to your point, you gotta highlight, you gotta bring that stuff out, right? You've gotta bring that
Mhm.
thread all the way through. And I have worked with some phenomenal organizations,
Yeah.
and, being able to say that, it's like, "Hmm, you're right.
Mhm.
I took that for
Mhm.
granted."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So amazing. So I know it was the top of the year, maybe January 2nd or 3rd, when we first really got started working and partnering together. Within about 10 days, maybe the 12th, around the 12th, we got your first interview. How
Mhm.
was that receiving that email that, hey, Gloria, we got your first interview? I remember your response for that.
Yeah, I was shocked because, to your point, it was less than 2 weeks. When
Hmm.
I had been, dredging, working hard for months and not getting anything, to see that first request come through was absolutely amazing. Very excited about that, and I think that was the magic of, the work that you do. But then right behind that, there was another one.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
they were back to back, and it was just like, "Oh my god, it was thrilling." It was a big rush, and I was excited about it. Um, so yeah, I mean, nothing but just excitement behind getting those requests back to back in such
Hmm.
a short period of time. And I think it speaks to, the work that your team does and how phenomenal you are. Because you said, within 45 days, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
you secured 2 to 3 resumes, and I was getting, or interviews, I should say, 2 to 3 interviews. And I was able to get 2 of those back to back within that, 10 to 14 day period.
Yeah. And we get really excited too about that. And it really is a partnership because you brought to the table, again, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. You were very responsive. Anytime we reached out, you know, responded back in a timely fashion. You were already in the zone, which speaks to being in that environment. And I think you were going through certification or something you were just studying already
Mhm.
on your own. So that also lends itself to opportunities because your mind is focused on, okay, this is really happening. Let me get prepared. Let me stay prepared and really dive deeper into, what the future is versus what hasn't happened for me. I've tried this, I've done this, but now let me focus on the future and what's about to happen. So I give you kudos for that. Again, I really think it's a partnership and we play a small part. You bring all of this to the table because without you, we couldn't do our job.
And for me, it really was a thing of, I don't want to let Kelly down because Kelly has gotten me to this point. And I want to make sure, to your point, I'm ready and I am prepared. And you helped me, through some of the conversations that we had along the way.
Mhm.
Bringing my confidence back because there's nothing like a confidence booster when you got
Mhm.
somebody behind you, versus, being down in, the dumps for months because I'm feeling like, well, maybe, my value isn't there anymore. Maybe, organizations are looking for something different, but you brought that confidence back in me. And because of that, I appreciate it. And I didn't want to let you down. So I wanted to make sure I was ready and prepared.
Oh, I love that so much. You could never let me down. Could never let me down. You were on top of it. And I kept telling you, like, you're in the zone. And then you started getting other interviews, and you're like, you know what? I applied for this and I got this. And I'm like, see, she's in the zone. What is this happening for you? It's just happening. So let's talk a little bit about, and then we'll have one more question and we'll wrap up. But value versus cost, because again, I think when this is brand new, and again, you don't know people online, internet, I know
Exactly.
there's a lot of skepticism, and I know at our age we've been through so much, we've been jaded, we've been all the things online, so it is scary, and I understand that as a business owner. But when we talk about value versus price, having someone there to support you, to help you with creatives, or just someone to reach out to, I look at that as value. But I want you to speak to value and price. How do you see that? How do you view that?
I think we have to be in a mindset where we feel like, we are investing in ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that we are a hot commodity. But in order to keep that going, we have to invest and we have to add value. And so the work that you do absolutely is value add. And it's not just about the documents that you were able to, recreate, reswivel. I like to use that term a lot for me, but you were right there. Any question that I had, you were right there and responsive. You and your team were able to support me along the way. You provided me with a list of questions that I should be prepared to respond to. And questions for me to ask as well. All of that is
Mm-hmm.
value add. When I sent you presentations, you provided feedback on that. So, and these are things I was not expecting. So there was
Mm-hmm.
absolute value in the product that you provide, the service that you provide. It is invaluable. I mean, the things that you were able to help me in and support me with were just amazing, and I really, really appreciate it. And I wasn't sure, to your point, I
Mm-hmm.
saw you on social media, and I don't know what it was that resonated, with me. But I reached out to you, and not once but twice, and you just made me
Mm-hmm.
feel so comfortable that I felt like I could do this and that it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's an investment, but it's
Yeah.
well worth it. It's well worth it. And
Yeah.
I see that now.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And so now we're at a point where we have an offer that we've accepted. We are moving forward in the future. I know there probably will come another offer coming in. So lots of traction, lots of things happening. How do you feel from when we first partnered late, early January
Mhm.
to now? And you alluded to it earlier about me saying, it'll be mid-February. How do you feel now? I know it has to be exciting because we're
It's
excited on this end.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting. It's of course, it's a relief. There's a lot of
Yeah.
weight and pressure,
Mhm.
after
Mhm.
being out for so long. But it is thrilling, it's exciting, and literally, when you said to me, "Oh, by mid-February, you're gonna be, back on the game. You'll be working again." And I'm like, "Okay, okay."
Mhm.
February
Mhm.
14th, I
Mhm.
got my offer.
Yeah. Yeah, that is great. And, I can say that confidently based off, again, what you bring to the table. So we turn down more than we accept in terms of clientele
Mm,
and your professionalism, how polished you are, how on top of it you are a person that's on top of your game. Anything we ask, like I said, you're very responsive. So I truly, truly consider it a partnership. My final question as we wrap up is if somebody that's watching this right now and they are uncertain and unsure and maybe in a mode of desperation right now,
mm.
what would you say to them?
I would say, first off, that you've got to trust God. You've got to trust that, you will come through this.
Mhm.
This is a short season for some, it's a longer season for others. But if you are looking for some support, and you've done all that you can do, I don't want you to be in a desperate position before you reach out to Kelly, but reach out to her services. I am definitely someone who is very conservative, but I felt extremely comfortable working with Kelly and her team. She's got an amazing team. They're very creative individuals. You will feel a sense of comfort working with this team. And if you put the work in, you've got to put the work in as well. But if you do your part, absolutely, you will see positive results. So if you're hesitant about it, if you don't feel the hesitation, move forward. It will all work through. As long as you're doing your part, it will come to fruition for you. You too will have success.
Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate you. Congratulations on all of your success. And thank you so much for doing the interview.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Anytime.
All right. What'd you think? What'd you think? Any takeaways, aha moments, golden keys? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what you thought about it. She shared everything from having the experience, having the knowledge and the skills, knowing that I have all this experience. Why is this happening? I've never had any issue getting a job. I thought my resume was, on point. And it just goes to show you that as the climate, the workforce landscape, the market, the economy, the world changes, we also have to change. We have to make some decisions because, like I always say, we look like our decisions. So, next month, next year, 2 weeks, tomorrow, we're going to look like the decisions that we've made today, right now. So hopefully this was beneficial. My hope is that it was inspirational as well. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Go ahead and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified every time I upload a video. I have more surprises coming for you. And let's have a dialogue. Let's have some conversation in the comment section. I want to hear what your thoughts are. And if you are in a similar situation and maybe you want to make a pivot, a transition, or go into an elevated or leadership role, go to I Am Kelly Jackson, hit that. I'll give you a free consultation. We'll meet and we'll see where you are and see how we can get you over to where you want to be. I believe everyone deserves a quality of life that they desire. So until next time, my friend, have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you soon.